All right, how we doing, everyone? Back with another episode, just or show, whatever you want to call it. Me just rambling on about sports, performance, nutrition, all that good stuff. Today, I want to talk about a lot with like youth training, youth sports. I've been working with a lot of youth over the last few years, and how it has become so like such a rush to get into that sports specific training or just playing sports, and especially just the athletes who play one sport, and how jumping right to sports specific training without the general physical preparation, general physical training, whatever you want to call it, the GPP, is usually a recipe for disaster and not building the best athletes you can build, because that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to build these kids into good athletes, but it's not. We're not in a rush to do it, or we are in a rush to do it when we shouldn't be. Build them. They don't need to be peaking at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They don't need to be peaking at that. They want to be peaking by the time, not even peaking in high school. They're still improving in high school, but then if they go on and want to play college or even the pros eventually, that's when they ultimately want to be peaking. So we don't need to be in a rush to get them into sport specific training. And when I say sport specific training, I mean playing and practicing their sport all the time. There's no sport specific training in the gym unless you're throwing baseballs in the gym or whatever it is. So that's playing and practicing your sport. Yes, there are more exercises that are going to be more specialized and things like that, and they don't even need to do that stuff until later. But we're just in such a rush to force these kids into playing one sport or specializing at such an early age, when I think that is a big mistake for most people. Yes, and of course you're going to see the freaks of the freaks, the 1% of the 1%. There's a lot of kids that are just naturally gifted. I mean, I was fairly naturally athletically gifted, but I was never like the superstar, like freak athlete. But you think of like the LeBrons or like Tigers or anything like that, and even LeBron didn't specialize at a young age. I know he played multiple sports, but like Tiger or the Williams sisters, they were basically, Tiger's put a golf club in his hand from when he was on the Johnny Carson show or one of those late night or talk shows, and making putts and stuff at age 3 or whatever it is. But that is such few and far and in between. And yeah, even if you do, and I'll get into more, even if you are specializing there, you still need the general training. And it's too often we just want them to play sports, but they don't have any physical preparation at all. And it's great when they're young. Playing sports can be multiple sports is great, and it's not like it's the sports that are preparing your body. It's the gymnastics, swimming, just tumbling, those types of things that are going to help when they're really young and get them prepared. And then as they start to get older, put them in different sports. See what they like, see what they don't like. Get them in football, get them in basketball, get them in baseball, wrestling. Try all these things out and see what they like. But during this time too, they need to be doing the general physical preparedness, the GPP, the general training. Because a lot of these sports are just focused on certain skills and abilities that they're going to get in those sports, which is great because they're going to develop whether it's basketball, there's shooting, or baseball, it's throwing, or cutting, or wrestling, it's wrestling, the contact, that type of thing. Or gymnastics is the tumbling and rolling and all that good stuff that more kids need. But if they're doing just a single sport or whatnot, they're not getting all these skills. And that's especially where the general training comes in. It's getting them to learn to crawl and roll and tumble and jump and sprint and balance and rotate and climb and all these things that they don't get in their sports, and just physically preparing their bodies for what's to come. And it it develops a better, well-rounded athlete, a well-rounded human being. And a lot of times this is done through play as a kid and getting them to play. Whether that's working with someone like me who actually gets them to play, because not a lot of kids play anymore. I get them to play in my training programs, whether it's a game of tag or it's some sort of like handball or some other just random made up game we make up on the spot, to get them to expose them to different movements and different skills and help them build confidence and things like that, which they don't get, and they're not able to explore and learn and fail in practices. They're punished for that kind of stuff usually, when that should be the opposite. They should be able to learn, explore, and be creative. And they're getting these skills, and it's not just the physical skills, it's the mental skills, it's the confidence, it's the ability to see themselves succeeding and getting better and improving and having fun. Because ultimately, yes, sports is great, but sports are going to end at some point. And that's where the exercise should still be part of your life. The movement, the play, the ability to want to keep working forward and improving yourself through training and nutrition and sleep. Building these things at a young age, that's what I strive to do. Yes, we want to, if they truly want to be better at sports, yeah, we'll help them get there too. But I want this to be part of their life and help them build healthy habits throughout their life. And one of the biggest things I saw this year with the girls volleyball team, that's a club volleyball team here that I work with. I just do one night a week of just speed, and they call it conditioning. I don't call it I call it speed, and do some little bit of strength, but I don't have a lot of body weight stuff because we don't have any equipment. It's just in a basketball gym, volleyball gym. But is these athletes, they are so focused on volleyball, and there's some good athletes there that play multiple sports, and you can tell I've done some training and stuff like that. But these are like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade through senior high girls, and some of them are just so unskilled. You can tell they haven't done any real training outside of, let's just put a volleyball in their hand and hope they can be good at it. And they don't have the balance, the coordination, the strength. You see them as failing, not able to hit a serve over the net, or not able to jump up and block or spike. And yes, they're young, so they're going to make improvements by playing volleyball, but they're not getting what they need outside of it. They don't have the background in training, and they're far behind these other girls who have had that training. And you can tell these girls are developing faster, they're developing better, and they're keeping developing because they are training outside of it. They are doing other sports, they are doing other things, so they are getting other skills and things like that. Whereas a lot of these girls that are not doing training outside and not playing other sports aren't getting any of that. So you can practice all the serving drills you want. You can work on the perfect form, but if you're too weak to hit a serve over the net, you're not going to be able to serve. Or you can't jump, you're not going to be able to jump up and block or spike. And you can do that all you want. But not having any other basic jump training or strength training, speed training outside of the sport is causing more harm than good. I see with baseball players too. Their parents want to buy them this new $500 bat, and they think that's going to help them drop bounds, but they're so weak they can't hit out of the infield because they've never done any. They can't do push-ups, or they can't do pull-ups, or they've never done any strength training or anything like that. Whereas some basic crawling and push-ups and playing games in those positions, pull-ups, things like that, is going to help you build strength. Who knew? Squatting, lunging, this stuff is going to help you build leg strength. Who knew? Sprinting, that's going to help you get faster. And you can disguise a lot of this as games and play. especially for the younger kids, even the older kids, even me, like as an getting older dude. Enjoy playing games because it keeps you engaged. It keeps you that intent high, and whatever you can do to gamify things is going to help. But again, you see these kids struggle because they don't have the basic foundational movement skills. They don't know how to move their body. They don't know that their left foot goes forward when you're using your right hand on a serve, and they're stepping with their right foot and right hand. They don't know how to run properly. They're running with their right arm forward as their right leg goes forward when it's supposed to be the opposite arm, opposite leg. Just basic coordination skills and things they would get from playing games, going out for recess. And that's the sad thing. They don't get recess. When I'm subbing at schools, kids get maybe 45 minutes, a half hour of recess a day. And they're lucky if they get gym twice a week for like a half hour, 40 minutes at a time. That's not enough. They're sitting too much. They don't get outside enough. They don't get to play enough. And they don't play when they get home. I'm always amazed when I walk by. I live by a few parks, and I see kids playing in the park, or I'm at the indoor field house where there's basketball hoops, and I see a bunch of kids in there playing. Just playing. No parents, no coaches around. I'm just playing. And I always think that's cool when I do see that, because I remember doing that as a kid. Going to the park with my buddies, having my birthday parties at the park where we just play baseball or basketball or whatever, kickball, whatever it would be. And we don't see enough of that anymore. That's what it's all about. That's where the true learning and growing in fundamental movement comes from. And that's what I try to achieve with tag, is providing them this environment to play, to create, to have fun and explore and fail and do all this stuff that we got as kids when we were just playing on the playground and playing sandlot pickup games, that they aren't getting because they're not doing that stuff that we got when we had recess. I remember it seemed like when we were in school we had morning recess, lunch recess, afternoon recess, and they're all like a half hour or something like that. Maybe that's just as a kid it seems longer, but even then, getting home and going playing. And now it's all just been flooded by all these coaches and specialized programs in AAU and club teams, and it's all most of it's a bunch of crap, and all these sports performance facilities that, and yes, I know I run a sports performance business, but again, my environment is what I think I'm different is most of these are coaching you on these perfect formats, or getting you to do all this stupid stuff, or you got a dowel rod on your back and you're trying to squat as a 10-year-old kid. That's so dumb. Like, just let them squat. Their form's not going to be perfect. They're probably going to grow 5 inches in the next 2 years anyway. So, like, trying to teach them form and perfect technique and sprinting mechanics and all this stuff, that stuff is dumb. I've worked at places that do that, and I just think I never saw any of these younger kids get any better at it. No, it's give them a ball, let them play tag, let them race each other, let them chase each other. That's what you're going to get them better. They're going to learn to self-regulate and self-organize themselves through play, add in constraints, give them a hurdle and say, jump over this in as many different ways as possible. Things like that, just challenging to make it fun. Make it engaging rather than trying to make mini bodybuilders and mini adult athletes, mini pro athletes that are doing all this dumb, superly organized, overly structured stuff. They get enough of that in their practices and definitely don't want it to be punishment. Want it to be fun and engaging, because then it's going to stick with them longer. But building this foundation is huge, and making sure kids are getting this general physical preparedness. They're building speed. They're building strength and coordination and balance. And learning to fail and learning that it's okay to make mistakes. Because if they're just, and it's especially just the single sport kids, especially when they're really young, that they're just playing one sport all year round. That's not going to help them build the strength and power because they're not taking time to do these other skills and learn these other things that are going to help them and make it easier to get better at their sport. The strength, the power, the speed, the jumping, those types of things. Because we're in such a rush to have them be elite at 10, 11, 12, and there's no such thing as an elite 10, 11, 12-year-old. You see all these phenoms in like the Little League World Series, and then they never turn out to be anything because they're dominant at that age. Like, if that were the case, I would have been a Major League Baseball player because I was a pretty good Little League Baseball player. But I played to high school, didn't even make a college team. So, again, you have all these things, and that's just because I wasn't good enough. But it's tough to see because I think that the play-based model and the general physical preparedness, I wish I would have had more of that when I was younger. I wish I'd had a program like I do here at TAG where we're learning tumbling and cartwheels and having fun playing games. Yes, I had recess and stuff like that, but it would have just been fun to combine that more with and then get into the strength training and stuff like that as you get a little bit hit those middle school years and things like that. But yes, that's my philosophy. This is my opinion on things. There's not one way to do it. It works for a lot of people. Works for the majority of most people, I think. But again, yeah, you have those freaks, those 1% of 1% that are just born and they're better athletes than everyone else. I'm sure LeBron shows up one day at a gym and just is out running, out dunking, out jumping, out shooting, just out stronger than everyone else just because he's God gifted by God on his freakish ability, or Usain Bolt or these other greats. But again, and they probably did a lot of the stuff too that because they want to get better and they know they get better and work on other skills. The last part of being great too is that continuous effort to work on it. But I hate to see like these kids, and I work with them and try to tell them that you need this general training. But again, it's not up to them. It's up to a lot of it's the parents, it's the coaches that are pushing all this other stuff that they don't believe they need to build this foundation of quality movement and strength and speed and power and balance and coordination. They think they'll get it in their practice, but they don't because they're working on such these individual skills like serving or blocking or spiking, or baseball it's pitching or hitting. And yes, those things are important, but we can't get ahead of the game. We can't do these things before you get the general stuff. It's all this specialized training, and baseball is the worst at it. Kids don't need all this. Young kids don't need all these lessons and specified training or a throwing plan or anything like that. Just go play baseball if they want. Go pick up games with your buddies. That's a better way than any pitching lessons ever going to do. Try different windups. Watch. It's like you see the guys who mimic the hitting stances or pitching. Why can't I think? Pitching windups on YouTube, and they like the exact thing down. I remember as a kid just watching sports all the time, and then go out and mimic it. I would mimic Barry Bonds' batting stance or Griffey, even though I wasn't a lefty. I like Nomar, so Nomar was one of my favorite players. So I mimicked him, mimicked his batting stance and the stupid glove thing he would always do. Or the pitchers, Pedro, that was my favorite pitcher. Mimic those things, or Randy Johnson, or all these guys. You go out and mimic what they do, and you see what works for you. Or as basketball, I was pretending I was Jordan or Pippen or Darius Miles was one of my favorite players. You mimic, like, I remember just making up like these random teams, writing all the names down, pretending it's like the college team USA, and all these college players and go out and play games and mimic tournaments and things like that and mimic these guys' shots and things. You watch these sports and then you go mimic them and then you learn how your body moves, and that's one way. That's the one way of exploring I remember doing as a kid, and I don't know if kids are doing that as much these days because they're going to, oh, I got my hitting lesson, or I got my volleyball serving lesson, or I got skills tonight and we're just going to work on blocking. And they teach them, they're robotic. They teach these kids all to move the same when that's the worst, is no one moves the same. Not even one of, if you're a pitcher, not even one of your pitches' emotion is going to be the same. Exactly. You want to try to mimic it and get it the same, because if you're throwing a changeup and a curveball and a fastball, you want them all to look relatively the same so the batter has a harder time picking it up. But no two motions are ever going to be the same. No two squats are ever going to be the same. So we can't force these kids, these athletes into being robotic. Let them, give them some guidelines, give them some constraints and things like that. Put them in situations to fail, to succeed, and watch them figure it out. Like, it's like you don't, at school, you don't tell the kids the answer to the test of the math problem. You let them figure it out. You show them different ways to do it and give them different options, and they find out what's best for them. So, again, this general physical preparedness is key to building better athletes or better abilities and making the most of what their abilities are. Because not everyone's going to be a pro athlete. That's the 1% of the 1%. But maybe they become a better high school athlete and then they get a shot to play in college, or they just learn to love playing sports and exercise, and then they do this for the rest of their life, and they never get to be a fat, obese pile of crap like most of the people in America are. Like 70% of people are overweight and obese in America. A lot of that's because they don't exercise, probably because they hate it, because they were punished as a kid, made to do push-ups or run a mile or do burpees or whatever it was, and now they think of exercise as punishment when it's a reward. And that's what I want with my general training for the kids, is to make it a reward and something that it sticks with them for the rest of their life. And some kids just don't do that, and that's fine. Kids want to be more art or music or whatever it is. Everyone's got to find what they want to do. But I think general training is going to benefit even the art kids, even the more nerdy kids that want to do the computers and stuff like that. Because I think I'm part nerd, part athlete, part not musician, because I'm never good at musician, but I like music. So things like that. So exercise is going to benefit everyone, and general training is going to benefit everyone, especially the athletes. It's going to help them make it easier to transition and to adapt and be able to acquire the necessary specific sports skills that they can do, because that's what good general training is. It exposes them to that, whether it's like me through games, or it's through the weight room, or through sprinting or jumping or whatever it is. So it's just going to prepare their body better. They'll have the strength, they'll have the power, the speed to serve it over the net or jump and block and spike, or not, or be able to hit a ball out of the infield even without that $500 bat. So that's my thoughts on that. I think general training is so important, but we're in such a rush right now to get these kids to be the greatest thing ever by middle school or whatever. And that's, who cares how good you are in middle school? Like I said, if that were the case, I would have been an all-star. I would have been in the Hall of Fame. But that's not the case. Now I'm just a washed up, never was, 36-year-old who's hanging on to his love of sports by playing town ball for this going to be my 19th year, I think. And still trying to be athletic and do athletic things as I get older, because I have learned to love movement, love exercise, love training, and love the whole process of it. That's a big thing too, is you got to learn to love the process. If you're going to make it, if you want to have dreams and passions, yes, you have to have the talent first and foremost. But you also have to love the process and the journey if you want to be a big time athlete. Because yes, it's true. true. The kids, you see the kids who don't have to work as hard, and that's so true. They're just genetically freakier athletes, as I mentioned before. LeBron and those types of, they probably didn't have to. They didn't have to work as hard. I'm sure a lot of them, like, I'm pretty sure LeBron's a pretty hard worker and stuff. But if you've played sports, you've ran into kids who aren't hard workers, but they're just better. They just show up at the gym. They can dunk it. They can run faster than you, jump higher than you, stronger than you, never lifted a weight, never done any of that stuff. You'll find those kids. You'll see those kids. But chances are that's probably not you. That's probably not your kid. So use the general training to help them get ahead and build that long-term athletic development. That's really what it's all about, and have them building and never. And yeah, you don't really ever want to peak. Yeah, you're going to peak at some point. But I mean, if you want them to succeed, you want them to keep growing and building and learning and failing throughout not just their youth time as a youth athlete, but into their adult years as well, because that's what it's all about. That will help them live a longer, healthier, more enjoyable life, because that's truly what it's all about. So that's what I have for you today, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.